You know, there are a lot of things that I can take that other people are a lot more sensitive to. But the death of children is something that really does touch my heart. No, not only the death of children, but the unnecessary death, or the wasteful death of children, really does bother me. Maybe it's because I feel that deep inside I connect, because I am still my parents' child, no matter how old I am. And I think this goes for a lot of you too. Maybe I just feel this way because I personally think that all children have the right to live happy, wonderful lives, filled with love and joy. And yet, you know that's not the case. We know that's not the case. And as the topic of this video will show, it's definitely not the case. So what inspired me was a video done by Shayra covering this story. And I've been subscribed to Shayra for quite a while now. If you haven't already, please subscribe to her. And I know some of you have probably mirrored her video by now. And I thought of doing that too. But I just was filled with so much outrage, with so much anger at these people, that I had to throw in my 2 cents. I had to make a video, and I had to talk about it. I will post the link to Shayra's video and the news story about this incident below. Well, if you guys don't want to watch the whole news story, it's only 6 minutes long, but a brief overview is that a mother and father, who are both fundamentalist Christians, beat their 7-year-old adopted child to death and injured their 11-year-old child to the point where she was in critical condition at one point. They beat them to death because they were instructed to, apparently, by a passage in the Bible. Passages in question would be, "He who spareth the rod hateth his son, but he that loveth him correcteth him betimes." Proverbs 13:24. "Withhold not correction from a child, for if thou strike him with the rod, he shall not die. Thou shalt beat him with the rod, and deliver his soul from hell." Proverbs 23:13-14. I'll be completely honest with you guys, it wasn't the Bible that directly inspired these parents to beat their child to death per se. It was a passage of the Bible in a particular book called To Train a Child, which deals with certain ways to raise a child. And there was a section that included how to beat the child. Surprise, surprise, the author of that particular book is also a fundamentalist Christian. I ask you Christians now, what can I say? What can I possibly say that hasn't already been said? I can already sense my detractors swarming up and telling me that I've taken these passages directly out of context. Or maybe that this was just an isolated incident of 2 crazy people beating their child to death. Maybe I am taking this out of context, and maybe this was just an isolated incident, although I do have a difficult time believing the latter, considering how more than 600,000 copies of To Train Up a Child were sold nationwide. And as for taking this out of context, yeah, maybe I am. In the same way that over 600,000 people might be taking this passage out of context and beating the everlasting fuck out of their children. The 7-year-old girl, her name was Lydia. Lydia sustained such heavy injuries that it was apparently indicative usually of a bombing or an earthquake. Most of her injuries were too graphic to be shown on television. And even the injuries that were allowed to be shown in the news report were pretty damn gruesome. I'm no parent. I'm sure you guys noticed that. So I have no right to tell parents how to raise their child. But it is my firm belief that physical discipline is never the way to go. I cannot empathize as Shayra can because I've never been beaten as a child or as a teenager. And I probably never will be because my parents were prone to suffer from physical discipline from their parents, and they never adopted that practice. But I cannot even bear to imagine the thought of my parents beating me with a plumbing supply tube as a 7-year-old child. The remaining children were sent to other foster homes, and the parents were charged with the murder and torture of their daughter. The father was sentenced to 20-something years in prison, the mother 12. And if I had it my way, if I truly had justice on my side, they would both get life in prison. No parole. That would be what I deem as sufficient enough to make up for their sins. And the worst part is, I don't even think that would matter so much, because in their minds and in their hearts, they've probably been absolved. They think that what they did was perfectly okay, as long as they just feign repentance and beg Jesus for forgiveness and go, "I'm so sorry, Jesus, please forgive me, I didn't mean to beat my child." Yeah, and then they can just get off scot-free, guilt-free, sleep easily at night in their little jail cell. And that's one thing that I just don't get about Christianity. When people like these two should really deserve to have a nagging conscience after what they did, and then they can just get off guilt-free because God said so. I can already hear you guys flocking to these parents' defenses by saying, "Oh, well, physical punishment is so commonplace with parents, and maybe they took it one step too far, but they did it out of love. It's this parenting thing that you wouldn't understand as a kid." You know, I don't understand. I don't understand how a parent can possibly beat their kid and still claim that they loved them. That they would just maintain this sadomasochistic relationship grounded upon fear of punishment, and still say with a straight face they understand the meaning of love. I don't understand how Christians can possibly justify beating children in their Bible by saying that I'm taking it out of context, or that this is all part of God's brilliant overall plan to save humanity by having children physically abused every day. And I definitely don't understand how you Christians cannot see why I stand against religion and everything that your religion stands for with cases like Lydia's. I don't see how you guys don't understand why this is not just an isolated incident. But what do I know? I'm just a kid. Thanks for watching, guys. May you rest in peace, Lydia, and may the truth always be heard.